So the moment you've all been waiting for. We're working on the same file. And I'm going to show you the differences between rendering it in Maxwell and rendering it in Lumion. But I'm not going to show you the whole export process again, because that part is the same. The thing that you will need to do is just make sure that, and it doesn't really matter what the materials are, but just make sure that every single one of these materials is a different material. You could just do blank, generic, gray materials for all of them as long as they have a different name. That's the only thing that matters here. Okay? So the only other thing that you need to do to get a Rhino file into Lumion is to export it as a DAE file. That's a collada file. So you just select all, SELALL, and oh, so let me just kind of pause for a moment and say, you guys don't have Lumion on your workstations. I'm showing this to you so that you understand sort of, you know, the pros and cons of different types of renderers. So just hang back, relax, ask questions, you know, settle your curiosities, and let's just have a good time learning what it can do. Okay? All right, so select all of your model, and we're going to export selected. So this is not, you're not dropping in the Rhino file, you're dropping in an export of the model from your Rhino file. I'm just going to put these on my desktop for now. Let's go here, call this class temporary. All right. And collada is right there, collada DAE. So I'm going to call this tower and site. All right, cool, good to go. So this is Lumion. When you open the software, it's going to look like this. The most important stuff, I guess, is the fact that it starts off with blank scenes. And you can pick ones that are mountainous, you can pick ones by the water, you can pick ones at night or in the evening. Generally speaking, I'm just going to pick this one right here for plain for now. Since I have so much, actually, you know what? Let me go back and I'll do a mountainous one so we can have some mountains in the background. Yeah, LA has mountains in the background.
Can you
Yeah.
pick like actual scene, like in LA?
Kind of. They have this thing called Openstreetmap where you can drop in basically a giant Google map on top of your landscape, and then you can build around it, but it doesn't bring in the terrain or adjacent buildings. Yet. They're working on it. All right, guys. So anyway, all you do with this is you just take that whole model and you drop it in. So I'm going to go to my import button, and all of your controls are down there in the bottom left. I know you won't be able to see too many of them except for Janet and Yesenia, but you can ask them about them later. All right. All right. So we're going to import that model. I'll just drop it in anywhere. So I don't want this to be right next to those mountains, so I'm going to move it kind of out this way. And then I'm quickly just going to change that Y scale to be 1 meter off the ground so there aren't any surface conflicts. All right, so this is our model in the Lumion environment. Right? Well, it looks slower here because I don't have the cord and I'm projecting through TeamViewer. Oh. So what you're seeing right now is through the internet, but on my screen it's really smooth. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's still very smooth. Certain things will bog it down. Like once you start building with your effects on, and we'll talk about effects in a little bit, or if you have extremely complex geometry in your model. But there are workarounds for that kind of stuff. But let's talk quickly about the materiality, right? So we want to get it up to approximately the same level of development as the one that we did in Maxwell, except this one we're going to have mountains in the background. So the materials are as easy as selecting the material pane, that's that right there, and then you just select what material you want to modify. Okay, so they have really good preloaded materials in here. If you just go to either a nature material or indoor or outdoor, there are a bunch of different types of materials. So real quick, I'm going to show you an outdoor concrete that you're familiar with, and it's not going to be good, and it's not the one I want to use, but I do want to show you that it's really a simple, well, where's that dotted one? They have like, there we go, this kind. Right, so all these things are, all these materials, they have some pretty good standard materials, but if you really want to master Lumion, then you go into custom mapping. Now, I want to warn you though, that for an academic exercise, you don't want to use realistic materials. Not usually, except for some very specific cases. What you want to start with are just plain color materials. You want to look at reflections and whether or not it has a matte finish on it. So what I'm going to do for my site is just make it a glossy plastic. So I think we can do that in indoor. I'm going to go to plastic. No, I hate their plastics actually. Let's just go to custom. Now I'm forgetting where that was. Well, oh, they didn't give me the full library, I don't think. Okay. I don't think color lets you do all the settings. It doesn't. Let's go to indoor. Oh yeah, they don't have solid colors. Well, I don't generally do their solid colors, but let's just grab, there we go. So this is just a regular color, but so these plastics, they just come as flat colors, the ones at the last couple tabs. But you can change their colors. You just put colorization up on 100 and it turns to white, and then you can pick any color you really want, like this. But what I want to focus on really is just, I want to make it white, I want to make it reflective, and I want to be able to see the reflection of my building in the actual surface of these buildings. So as I get down to the base of my building, I'm going to turn reflectivity all the way up and gloss all the way up, and you're going to see that it starts to reflect. Okay. Now the settings, remember, this is very much a sort of inaccurate exercise, right? You won't turn up reflectivity to a certain number and know that that's exactly what you want unless you really, really master Lumion. But you get it pretty close here, and the preview, this is a preview, is going to approximately show you what that material is going to do. So you kind of have to learn to guess that that's going to be really reflective. Now, let's jump over into photo mode real quick to see how it turns out. This is how you really understand what the export is going to look like. So you grab an image, and I'm going to store that camera right there, okay? And then I'm going to turn on a reflection, okay? And with this, they have this thing, oh, that's a, we don't have Pro? What? What is that? Ah, we can't use Speed Ray. Oh, that's really unfortunate. So Speed Ray is, I thought we had a full functioning software with our license, but I guess not. So Speed Ray, there's something that Lumion does. It has a reflection sphere that you can drop in, and it'll reflect everything based off of that sphere, or it'll do as, you know, sort of like pseudo-real reflections, and that's what that does. But anyway, let's see what happens when we just drop in our base surface. Yeah, they did kind of cheap out on us on that one. And I'm going to do a quick draft of it. Okay, so that went really fast. Let's go to desktop and class temp. Okay, so without Speed Ray, that's kind of what we get. We could make it a little bit more reflective, and then we can play around with it a little more. So let's go back in here. Let's make it even more reflective. And so I'm going to show you real quick what the reflection sphere does. It's found under the Lights and Special Objects menu, and you just drop the thing in, Let's go to reflection control, like that. Yeah, well the unfortunate part is that it's going to reflect wherever the sphere is. So see how it's the same image? So I kind of hate the reflection sphere. I'm really not happy that we don't have speed ray. Yeah, that's unfortunate. I don't think I want to use that. Oh, darn. Alright, well, we just won't use that, and we'll use the semi-matte material for now. Let's undo. Well, alright. Let's go back down a little bit, like that. Okay. So the other thing here is the rest of the materials, we're just going to do these pretty simply. I'm going to focus on a chromatic metal, but make it like a black anodized chromatic metal for all the architecturally exposed steel. And then I'm going to do a column material, something that has a matte quality to it. So I just grab my metal material here, and I'm going to go to Indoor, and I'll grab this metal. And I'm also going to change the reflectivity a little bit and bring that down so that it kind of looks more like an architectural steel. And then bump the colorization up and the darkness down. So that becomes like a black metal. And then I can grab my glass. I'll go to Outdoor, grab glass. And they don't let me use any of the Pro glass. Alright, let's just do glass. There we go. So I can bump up some of the settings here. You can make it double-sided so it reflects both ways. You can increase the reflectivity so that you barely see through it and all you really see is stuff around it for the most part. You can change the color of it, and this type of glass doesn't seem to have frostiness, which is unfortunate. Man, we really need Pro.
Wow.
You should complain.
Yeah, I might ask him for it. Alright, let's take a look at the columns then. So I grab my columns, and if I really wanted to make it concrete, guys, I just go to concrete and I grab one of my generic concretes, like that. There we go. Right, so that's the basic element of setting it up. So when we want to set our view, we go to the photo view here, and we just set our view for whatever perspective we want. And I kind of don't really remember exactly where our camera was when we did this. I think it was about here, though I think we had a 35mm lens. So go up like that. Tell me what? Yes, I'll show you entourage and stuff like that. All right, guys. So that's basically it for setup. So if you're oh crap.
Ah, man.
Hang on. Go to 35.
So you could just do like the kind of like the basic without like getting like the premium.
Yeah, this is so the license I got for you is exactly this. So it looks like we have most of the library, but we don't have full functionality of their more advanced tools. And those are going to be Hyperlight, Speed Ray. We should have Omni Shadow, but I'm not sure. But I'm going to see if I can get us a better license for that. So I'll store that camera, and I'm going to do a quick print, and I'll drop it here under 2.
So it's already rendered?
It is rendering right now. So you'll see when I drop in some effects and stuff what the render, how it slows down the render. But I'm going to do that in a following video. So we've got our image right there. So besides the fact that we don't have speed ray, it is still an interesting way of rendering. Yeah.
Is it good enough for portfolio?
Right now, no.
Without other advanced tools, is it good?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you just need to get. So the only thing that you need to do that makes it much more difficult for you, because speed ray is huge, You just need to be clever about your reflections. Make them reflective. Don't put the sphere in a place that's going to be inconvenient and show like a weird reflection. That just takes practice. But it's really a small thing in comparison to the other benefits you can get. Okay? What questions do you have? Yeah?
When you import it in, is there like layer menu that you can select each layer?
No. So the model comes in as one giant link, and the only thing that you can select is by material. So the layers are gone, and it's just surfaces and materials. That's it.
So other buildings are in one group.
Yeah, because they're all one material.
So we have to set it up in Rhino.
Yeah, that's a very good thing that you're getting at there. Lumion does not model anything. You can't model anything in Lumion. You can drop models in, but you don't do any actual modeling.
So
you just change materials and lighting settings and environment settings and stuff like that.
So they just do the finished stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yes.
Make any changes in Rhino? Just update the.
Good question. You have to refresh it in Lumion. So I'll show you.
Sync?
I'll show you real quick. No, it's not an immediate sync. All you have to do is re-export the collada file, and then grab the base point of this guy, wherever he is. Oh, I'm not on. There we go. Imports. So you just grab that, and then this little button right there just re-imports it. So it takes a minute or two, not even, and just refreshes the model for your latest export. Yeah. Yeah, as long as it's the same file, anything that's named the same that comes in with that link is going to adopt those material properties. All right, so we're going to do some scene setting, and then we're going to basically drop in some effects so that we can enhance the image here. Okay.
So you just actually set
Kind of.